I've got my little Marshall amplifier here, and you might not think that's anything up to much, but it cranks out enough noise. So let me turn it on. You can hear a bit of a buzz. I'll turn it to overdrive, and you can hear a lot of the buzz. So I started with the D, and I wanted a nice crunchy sound, just a short, sharp, stabbing sort of riff. This is what I came up with. And so on like that. Now, I wanted to build the whole song around that riff, which plenty of rock and roll bands have done in the time. I thought, keep it nice and simple, 3 little chords like that. That's my kind of songwriting. So when it came to lyrics, this is the kind of thing I thought of. I wanted to have the idea of a rock and roll town, which is different from any other towns. You know, all towns have got their good bits and bad bits, but a rock and roll town had certain little elements which made it attractive to live there. So I thought of all the towns and cities in the world that you hear in other songs, like Paris and Rome and New York and all the rest of it. So Paris, I thought, what's an iconic thing about Paris? And Paris, of course, is the Eiffel Tower. So it started off like this. Paris is nice. It's got the Eiffel Tower. Fair enough. And then I thought, what rhymes with tower? And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if to rhyme with tower, I used the word tower? So I needed to come up with another city or town that had a famous tower. So I thought Pisa. Pisa's nice. That's got that leaning tower. So I went like this. Pisa's nice. It's got the leaning tower. And see what I did there? Leaning tower. It's like the guitar's leaning with it. So I've had Paris is nice with its Eiffel Tower, Pisa's nice with its leaning tower. So the next line, I thought I better come up with something else that rhymed with tower. I thought, what about tower? So I've had 2 iconic towers around the world. I thought I better come up with a 3rd tower in a town that maybe wasn't quite so iconic. So Blackpool, tourist resort, famous in the northwest of England, and it's got a tower there, the Blackpool Tower, but it's this red sort of rusty colour. So the line went like this. Blackpool's nice, it's got a rusty tower. So the other tower, Paris, has got the Eiffel Tower, Pisa's nice, it's got the leaning tower, and Blackpool's nice, it's just got a rusty tower. That's about the best that Britain can offer. But in all of these towns, Paris, Pisa and Blackpool, what are they like on rock and roll? Do they have the bass up loud? So do they turn up the bass? Turn up the guitar? Do they turn up the amps? Crank up the power? So I actually came up with another word I did come up with another word that rhymes with tower, power. So you've got to turn up the amps, get the power cranking out. And then we're on to the first chorus. So a rock and roll town's where I want to live. I want to live my life in a rock and roll town. I want to live my life in a rock and roll town. So if I'm going to live my life in a rock and roll town, I really want to have a house there. I want to buy a house in a rock and roll town. Now, I did think along the lines, I was going to have a line that said, I want to find a wife in a rock and roll town. Because that would be good if you're going to have a wife who lives in a rock and roll town. By definition, she's going to enjoy the same kind of things. But I thought, if I want to find a wife, that's a bit derogatory. How about I want to find my wife in a rock and roll town? I want to find my wife in a rock and roll town. That's not a bad line, but I didn't have enough room left in the song in that bit. So where are we? Yes, I talking about how I want to live in a rock and roll town, because it's nice compared to, it's got nice bits that don't necessarily appear in other towns, but it's possible that any town is a rock and roll town if it's got the right attributes. So how about a line that said, people say this place is a rock and roll town. People say this place is a rock and roll town. Now hopefully, when someone's doing that live, they can substitute the name of the town in there. So people say that Gillingham is a rock and roll town. People say New York is a rock and roll town. People say Cornwall is a rock and roll town. Anywhere you are, when you're doing a gig, you can substitute the name of the place you are, and the crowd will join in, or the crowd will cheer. Well, crowd might be a bit optimistic, the audience might join. Well, audience might be a bit optimistic. One man and his dog might join in with that bit. So to wrap up the chorus, I just want to confirm what I said at the start of the chorus. I want to live my life in a rock and roll town. In a rock and roll town. So there we are, that's the intro, first verse and the chorus. On to the next video for the rest of the song, and I'll just leave you with carrying on crunching away at the riff because I enjoy it, and I want to make it seem as catchy as I can.
Eiffel Tower, Pisa's nice. Ooh, it's got the Leaning Tower. Blackpool's nice. It's got a rusty tower. But do they turn up the bass, turn up the guitar, turn up the house, and crank up the power? I wanna live my life in a rock and roll town. Wanna buy my house in a rock and roll town. The people say this place is a rock and roll town. I wanna live my life in a rock and roll town.